Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. How is everyone doing out there? Happy Memorial Day. Shout out to all of our valiant individuals, current, past and current that have served, this country. And today's a great day of family and celebration. And here we are, another wonderful episode of Uncommon Mondays. I'll tell you something, I've never been so proud to be a part of something so significant that's making such a huge impact. And here we are, 27 episodes in Uncommon Men, Uncommon Global, Uncommon Mondays. And I'll tell you something, tonight will be no different. We will continue to bring you uncommon men as examples of success and greatness and things that hopefully you can be inspired by. So take some notes. We got a great ride for you this evening. But remember, guys, if you're watching this broadcast on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share it. Be a part of the movement. Caring and sharing, right? If you're watching this on our social media outlets, maybe our Facebook group or whatever the case may be, do the same thing, man. Like the broadcast, share the broadcast, be a part of the family. We're fired up and excited, as I know you guys are. And leave comments tonight, ask questions, be fully engaged, guys. And we're going to blast off in just a moment. So, guys, just remember, man, this uncommon movement is designed to be an inspiration. And I cannot take the credit for coming up with this vision of men's empowerment, males, from 16 and above, something so important. I got to say that this was birthed out of the genius mind of someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for, who doesn't just talk the talk, but he walks the walk, not just locally or regionally or nationally. I'm talking about globally. Someone who has a global reach and cares about humanity, but has a special vision for the empowerment of males all over the world. And that's my partner, Mr. Dan Putnam. Dan, how you feeling tonight, buddy?
Man, fantastic. And like you said, I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. And really, is what makes all this possible. Is having this beautiful free country where people have all kinds of opportunity, and our goal is really just to let them know that they do have opportunity, that they are in control, that success is a decision, and so many things in life. I think that we just kind of our mind just gets clouded, and we kind of lose focus on what life's all about and what we're capable of. And just that whole concept of we all have beliefs, we have doubts, and it just is so crazy how easy it is sometimes that we start believing our doubts and doubting our beliefs and don't know who we are, what we're capable of, what we're here for. And just as an example of that, one of the things that kind of caught me off guard a little bit is, I'm a big sports fan. One of the things that I enjoy doing and played in college was golf. Still play quite a bit now. And there's I'm not sure if you saw Clavon, maybe you did. A gentleman named Grayson Murray, professional golfer, 30 years old, won earlier on the PGA Tour this year. Did well in the PGA Championship 2 weeks ago. Made the cut, doing well, and had been struggling a bit with anxiety, struggling a little bit with depression. They interviewed him in January after he won, and he was just saying what a good space he was in, how happy he was for the first time in a long time. He had a fiance, all of these things, and he's just excited about the future for the first time in a long time. And on Friday, he withdrew, saying that he wasn't feeling well, saying that he was sick, and then committed suicide Friday night. Wow. And that's just one of those things that is just happening far too often. We're talking about a professional golfer making millions of dollars a year, playing what you would think a game that he loves, and so many people are still struggling with that anxiety, with the depression, with just the pressure of life. And my whole goal is just to again get people to realize what they're capable of, realize that there's so much more to life. That's why we are focusing so much on this giving back and this movement and helping others. But every time I see something like that, it just lets me know that, man, we got so much work to do, because that's just happening constantly, far too often. But I am super grateful, super excited for our guest this evening, another uncommon man. And just like we say every time, the goal of this podcast is to interview uncommon, successful men, all different walks of life, just to prove the point and get it out there so that everybody can see success is a process, success is a decision. Opportunity has to be present in order for you to go through this process to make this type of decision. But there's so much opportunity out there in today's world. I mean, it's 2024. That's another thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, Clavon.
Yeah.
Just being able to take advantage of the absolutely amazing time that we live in. This isn't 1834.
Yes.
I mean, we literally could be anywhere in the world within 36 to 40 hours of wherever you live. You could be anywhere else in the world.
Right.
Sitting on the nicest beaches, eating at the nicest restaurants, traveling all over the world. Where back even 100, 200 years ago, there was no opportunity like that. A lot of people weren't even leaving their 10, 15, 20 mile radius. And if you did, you're walking or riding a horse. And so, there's just so much out there to see, so much out there to do. And we want to leave as many clues as we can. And we say this all the time, 100% for sure. In our 27th episode, again, we're more than 6 months into this now, no weeks missed. And we're seeing that every single person that we've interviewed has way more in common than differences.
Right.
And they grew up, some of them in different countries, all different states, all over the United States, all different family lives, all different everything. But they had commonalities in the mindset and the drive and their belief and all of these different types of things. And I think on episode 2700, all that's going to do is just ingrain in your mind even that much more. The success is a process. Success is a decision. Success isn't just somebody got lucky. It's not just an accident. And I know for sure if we were doing the opposite and we were interviewing unsuccessful people, you're going to see the same commonalities of the things that they're doing that's keeping them from being successful. And most of the time it's just, right here in your own mind, getting in your way. And that whole facet of having those two massive things, beliefs and doubts, and doing them completely backwards. You should be doubting your doubts and believing your beliefs, but far too often we overthink things and let our mind get in the way, and before long we're believing our doubts, we're doubting our beliefs, and then we don't even know what in the world's going on. And this could be the people that are some of the most successful people in the world: professional athletes, actors, actresses, musicians, down to just everyday people that are really struggling. It just shows that there's nobody that's immune to our minds, to the problems. It's something that you always have to be working on. And so we just want to give people as many tools in their tool belt as we possibly can by, continually every single Monday, getting out more good, positive information and really on a mission to see, can we build a massive brand that only exists for one reason? There is only one reason for Uncommon. And that's to help others, to provide opportunity, to give people the chance that nobody ever tells them what they're worth. Nobody ever tells them if they're good enough, not good enough, don't look good enough, too fat, too tall, too small, too whatever. And let them have the decision of what they want to do, live life on their terms, not somebody else's terms, and let people know that anything is possible. So that's what it is. So let's go ahead and get started. And again, couldn't think of a better day to be doing a call than Memorial Day. We had, I think, Christmas Day was a Monday, right? New Year's Day was a Monday.
Right.
Now Memorial Day. So,
Right.
we didn't miss Christmas Day. We didn't miss New Year's Day. We're not missing Memorial Day, but it's just, a great time to be alive. And it's one thing that I think about. I absolutely love life every single day, good, bad, indifferent. And I hate the people. I don't hate the people. I hate the saying, life sucks and then you die. And I hear it so often, and I couldn't be further from the opposite of that. And I just want to, get the mindset out there and let people know, man, we're in 2024. Let's take advantage of it. There's opportunity out there. There's, you know, so much information out there of what people are doing, how they're doing it, and mentors that are willing to help you. And let's just show people and let them know it's a decision. So find the right mentors and go at it. See what you can
Blessed,
do.
man. You're very blessed there. I feel blessed as well to be able to proclaim, we love life.
Yeah.
I mean, love life is a blessing. And maybe symbolically, with this being Memorial Day, as we bring on our guests, people may have to just maybe fight. Maybe it is a war, fight to kind of fall back in love with yourself and fall back in love with life. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that pain of not loving life to the point where that anxiety, that stress, that depression can make you want to take your life? Mental illness is very serious. Depression is very serious. And
Yeah.
we're going to continue to do this work and support those and pray for those and try to pull them through. And, tonight, guys, we have Dr. Phil Reed, a gentleman who I've grown to admire in a very short period of time. From Phoenix National Network, I can tell you when we talk business, Dr. Reed, I kind of felt something uncommon about your posture, your whole flow, your whole purpose. You were so cool and smooth with it. It wasn't an ounce of desperation, had nothing to prove. But people who are intentional and service driven and who really love what they do, you can feel that, and it gives a sense of comfort to others. But there's just so many other phenomenal things about what you're doing. So we want to welcome you, Dr. Phil. I think you may be muted. Maybe you're unmuted. There you go.
There you go.
I want to welcome you to the UnCommon Network, sir. Good evening. How are you?
Man, it's great to be here. I love how you guys talk. I mean, my heart was leaping just listening to Dan just how to express himself there. And, I feel when we first talked, I felt like we had so much in common already, and even now, just kind of listening to your program, I feel inspired. I feel honored to be here among you and be a guest on your program. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, man, absolutely, brother. And I tell you, we're gonna get right to it, man, because there's so much we want to share with the world about what you're doing with the Phoenix National Network and your other entrepreneurial dealings and all the people you're working with. But we just want to get some insight on your background first, man. City, state, where'd you grow up? Parents, no parents, siblings, some of the adversities of adolescence. Just give us a deep dive into, what helped make you the man you are today, your background.
So, yeah, listen, Matt, how long is this program? Because 3 days from now, I'll still be talking. Dad will be like, Phil, the show's been over 3 days ago. But I grew up in Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica.
Okay.
And it's a very beautiful island, but it can.
Let me see. Okay. I wonder why your mic's muting on its own. It's just your mic's muting on its own. Yeah, just keep taking a look at it. I don't know why it's happening, but you grew up in Jamaica?
Yeah, that was where I was there until maybe I was 13. And when I came here, I moved straight into Yonkers. I went from living on an island, beautiful island, trees everywhere, everybody's kind of chill, to New York, Yonkers, Warburton Avenue, And it was a big, huge culture shock. It's a big shift. My dad was a pastor, and he passed away when I was around 7 or 8. And Coach Clavon, that was one of the first big obstacles of my life.
Hmm. Check your mute. There you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found myself really I was searching for manhood. Son,
Hey, Dr. Phil. Interesting. We're having a slight uh, issue. You either keep going on mute and then off of mute, or there's just a couple of moments where we lose the sound, your connection. I wonder why. Yeah, you're gonna try to come back on. From Jamaica to he said Yonkers.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty serious, man. I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't know if I could imagine. It's just so opposite. You know what I mean? It's just like going from a beautiful tropical island to just cement and metal, you know, and
the rat
people.
in the rat race for real, for real. I mean,
Yeah,
Jamaica is so easy, relaxed, calm. Come on, man, to the city that never sleeps. Oh
yeah,
man, I hope it gets. We can get him back on with a good connection. Um, with a good connection, yeah. But I can't wait to hear more of his story. Dan, yeah, I felt him though when he came on because something heartfelt about that story with the golfer and just some things that I've heard from some family members just today without even going into details, man. It's just my heart is more open, like empathy and compassion now for people struggling with these issues than ever before. It's just something that I pray this podcast makes an impact on people's lives that are, suffering.
yeah. I was just talking to a gentleman earlier today that you definitely know out of Katy area, and we were talking a little bit about the UnCommon movement and things like that, and he was just talking about a 14-year-old in the neighborhood that also just committed suicide within the last couple of days. And so it's becoming far too common. You know what I mean? And that's one of the main issues. And we definitely aren't trying to dwell on that or go suicide prevention or anything like that. We're really just going the complete opposite and giving some people some hope, giving people something to believe in, giving people an exact track to run on, something to believe in, and let people know that, hey, bottom line, there's people out there that care. But we have Dr. Phil back on, so we'll go ahead and turn it back over to you. Hopefully we can get through with a little bit less technical
Your dad
issues.
your dad passed away.
yes.
That was
I
serious.
think it should be better now. I'm hoping. But like I said, it's not easy to be a man, just period. Especially this is why I'm so passionate about sharing what you're doing, Coach Clavon, and also connecting with men who are willing to share themselves in order to coach young men into being, men that can contribute to society, men that can contribute to their community. I realize that men are not just born, they're made, right? You have to go through some stuff in order to become who you are, and it's not always easy. It's just a journey that you have to accept, the role of it. But I learned that the hard way. I say that because people looked at me, made certain judgment calls because of who I was in developing, and I didn't know a lot of things. There were just a lot of things I did not know. but I was always open to learning. I was the teacher, right? And so she showed me the value of learning and gaining knowledge on and studying and kind of putting your brain to the test. And so it was, I believe that it was her passion for education and her passion for, and her love and passion for knowledge that helped me, develop and, didn't pay attention too much to all my mistakes, just kind of focused on what am I learning today? And, what's going to cause me to grow? What's going to cause me to get to the next level? I could say that I've never really feared failure, right? Or what people call failure, right? I always thought of it like God is putting me in a classroom and it's either I pass the test or I got to retake the class. I mean, I'm sure other people can, relate to that, but it's like, sometimes you feel like I'm the only one in this room and nobody else is in this class with me. But you would be wrong. You'd be wrong because all of us have to go through these classes, right? All of us have had people just kind of like look down on us or, judge us the wrong way. And, or, we make a mistake and it's like 2 steps back, 1 step forward. But the point is to keep moving, keep counting your progress, and you'll get to where you are inside your spirit, inside your heart. And I've just always kind of believed that. When I came to Yonkers, New York, the culture shift was so drastic because we had guys on the corner selling drugs and, a lot of people I went to high school with didn't finish school, because of all the things, all the elements involved in that kind of a community. And, it just was by the grace of God that I did not get caught up in all that stuff. I was always the, one going to church, and I was always heavily involved in the church scene. And I believe that's what kept me level-headed. I had friends who were level-headed. Most of my friends from that time, they have their families and, they graduated college and, everybody kind of moved on because that was just a place for us to pass through. It was not a place for us to stay and build our life. There's a scripture that says, yea, though I walk through the valley, right? It's not meant for you to build your house there. You're not meant to, set up tent and, start building a village. It's meant for you to like learn and move on. And so I thank God for the valleys. I really appreciate the valleys because I learned a lot from my valley experiences. It was in '99 that I got married my first time. I'm skipping a lot because, like I said, I could go through a whole lot of the ups and downs there. But the main thing is that around the age of 24, 25, met this young lady. We decided to get married and moved to Tennessee. At the time, I thought I could sing, so I was like, yeah, let's go to Nashville. Let's go to Nashville. And, I felt like I was trying to discover my own path at that time, but in through that, I got into real estate and I started learning the value of having your own business, right? It was an amazing experience. I worked for a company called Keller Williams. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but Keller Williams taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about people. It taught me a lot about selling. I read that book,
The One
The
Thing.
Real Estate Guy. No, that was the
Oh,
other.
okay.
That was after this one, but it was almost like the guide to Keller Williams realtors. The Guide to Being a $1 Million Realtor, or something like that, by Gary Keller. And I remember reading that book, but the one line that stuck out to me in that book was "win-win or no deal."
Oh, I
Right?
love it.
That was driven into every single realtor. It's like, if you're going to make a deal and everybody doesn't win, then don't make the deal.
Wow.
And that stuck with me, man. That was my foundation, like cornerstone for business. Like, and after maybe 4 years, like my wife at the time and we decided to separate, and it was one of the roughest times in my entire life. I wouldn't want anybody to go through that, but because I saw my parents, saw their life, and I said, man, marriage must be that easy. I never saw them argue. I never saw them fight. My dad was a pastor. He would travel around. He would send pictures from Egypt, and he would travel the world and all this. And then he comes home, and my mom would just make him feel at home. I mean, he would come in and he'd be like a king. I mean, I admired their relationship. I just felt like, wow, look at how they just flow together, right? I didn't know what was going on. I didn't see what was going on behind the scenes, and that's how most families, I think, were at the time. Like, you see an upfront image, and then behind the scenes, it's all kind of crazy. But I never expected that. The divorce was like a surprise. It's almost like one of those sidebar things where you're like, what? And this happens to people. And so I started having to deal with that. And I felt like a failure as a man, right? Because now I had my son, and he was everything to me. He still is, right? I love him so much, right? But I felt like I failed him at the time. And it was very difficult because my father died when I was 7 or 8, and he was about the same age. So I felt the separation, right? I felt like this is definitely a big marker in my life. And so, like everything else, you got to check, you check it out. I went through several layers. For anybody who's like going through this now, I went through several layers of emotional distress. First, I was angry at the world. I was like, the world did this, right? And then I was angry at the wife because I said, she must be the one. And you get angry at everything. You get angry at your dog. You blame your cat, you blame the dry cleaner down the street. You just try to find somebody to put this on. But it all circles back to your tolerance levels and the things that you know and what you don't know. The truth is, what you don't know is what gets you. What you know is just you're seeing it through shades of gray. And when you're in your 20s, I thought I knew everything in my 20s. You couldn't tell me nothing in my 20s. Now I'm close to 50, and I'm a continual learner, right? Learning is, I got to learn through every situation, and so kind of like experience all of that. It took me about 7 years to really kind of get my legs back, right? And a part of that was starting this business. And, I had to, in 2009, I went to a seminar, and these guys were talking about being an entrepreneur, starting your own thing and finding your purpose in life. And, the seminars, right? All of us have been to one of them. And I walked away, and I said, one of the key things that the speaker said was, write down all the things that you're good at, and then write down all the things that you envision yourself doing, in this life, right? What do you want to contribute to the world? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? And I went home and I wrote all that stuff down. And I found out that my basic desire was to help people, right? If I should remove everything else, if I should do anything for free, it would come down to just helping people do something, right? And so I got up the next day. It was funny. I got up the next day and I went to, they didn't have the internet as big as it is now. We couldn't do this, when I started. This was 2009. We just enjoyed MySpace. MySpace was just, that was what we were going through then. But I went to registered my business, Phoenix National Business Group. That was the original Phoenix National Business Group. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I had a little thing in my mind that said, okay, this is going to help people kind of like get their brand going. So I started kind of leaning into website building and kind of getting into all of that. And, I started kind of culminating everything that I've learned, because I used to work for USA Today, and I went to school for graphic design, and all these different creative things were already in my arsenal. So I launched everything. I just put everything on the table. And so I went to a networking event, and a gentleman said to me, this is why it's so good to hang around healthy men, healthy people, right? I went to the presentation, and in my presentation, I picture myself, and I would say to myself, I would coach that guy. I would help that guy out, right? I started going all over the place. I do this, and I do that, and I do this, and I'm listing all this menu of things. And a gentleman, his name was Noel. I think his name was Noel. And he pulled me to the side and he said, look, I want to hear about your business. He said, come, meet me at my restaurant in my office, and let's sit down and talk. And I went over there. I thought he was going to give me business, right? That's in my mind. I'm like, man, I pulled out my best suit and put my tie on. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get my first client. And I walked in there, and he sat me down and said, go, tell me about your business. And I started talking. I started selling. I did what I knew, right? I started selling. I started talking. I started trying to close him. And he was like, all right, Bill, I'm going to tell you something. And he said, I'm willing to coach you to help you grow your business. He said, but right now, you're all over the place. He said, I wouldn't know where to start with you. He said, so find that thing. He said, find that thing that your business is about, and then come back. Guys, listen, I felt like somebody shot my tires out. I walked out of that office and I was like, wow. I mean, none of that worked, And then I went home and I did what he said. I said, sat down. I was like, okay, what is my focus? What is my primary thing that my business is about? And I had to sit down, and I wrote up a mission statement, a vision statement, started doing like this business plan thing. And it brought me into a focal point, like where do you want to start? And at the time it was websites. I said, I'm really good at that. I think that's going to be the primary thing. And I can do the rest of it. The rest of it can just come after. So I went back to him once I kind of like had that, went back to him. I sat down and he said, okay, pitch me again. And I did a new pitch. And he said, that was much better. He coached me all the way through. He took the time. I'm talking, this is a stranger that had owed me nothing. And he just decided, I'm going to put 2 hours a week in this guy. And I valued that, right? Sometimes it's not about the green. Sometimes it's just about investing your time into somebody else. And you just
Wow.
never know who that person is going to affect. You never know where that's going to go. Long story short, it started a whole trend for me. My business, I started to get clients. I remember I went onto Craigslist and I got my first camera for $20. And my sister gave me her computer and said, okay, I'm going to give you this computer. You can pay me when you start making money. Right? I talk about people doing small investments, like the small investments. And so that's how I started. Phoenix National Network started with a Craigslist, all broke up, set play, transferred a digital camera that was ancient and a computer that I borrowed from my sister. And I started learning on editing and everything that I'm doing right now. The basics, the foundation. I felt as if God was building me towards something, because everything that I've learned, even in high school, everything I learned in high school, all the way up to that point, was applicable to the industry that I'm in right now. Right.
Wow.
And, so I say this, and, I'm going to stop. I think I'm going to stop at this point. I say this, most of the time, we don't know why we start where we are. Right. We wish we had more. We wish we had more people. We wish we had more clients. We wish this, we wish that. But I want to encourage somebody, just say to them, look, Dan, I think it was Dan who said this. You've got to believe in who you are and what you got. Even if you think it's a minuscule idea, what you think about yourself and what you think about your idea, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
If you think it's a small idea, if you think nobody is going to want to hear it, it's already dead. You've already killed it. Right? If you don't believe in your own thing, why are you going to ask other people to believe in it? You've got to really just pull yourself up and go, this is mine and I believe it's going to work. And I have all the resources in here to make it happen. Right? As you step out there and as you start doing it, you find that you connect with the right people. You start gaining the right information, because I don't know how many people saw The Pursuit of Happiness. I know all of us probably saw The Pursuit of Happiness, right? Yeah, yeah, right. The facts. I like that. Facts. The facts of that is nothing comes to you unless you pursue it.
That's right. That's right.
Whatever you have right now, you pursued.
And I love your story, Dr. Phil, because I know you want to transition, but for that pain, 7 years, but something was born out of it, and it seems like a desire to not only find your purpose but to serve, and then by you being as ready as you could be at that time, a mentor showed up. They say when a student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Yes.
And so it seems really perfect. And I think, that gives us a lot of substance on what got you to, this point to have such a thriving, global business. And I think Dan, right now, we want to jump in and ask you some of these uncommon questions and see how they match up, with your story. We'll get back into mentorship and we'll get back into personal growth and development. The books that you've read and the ones you've already shared at Keller Williams. But I can tell you something, when Dan first shared this vision with me, and I'll let him elaborate, of this uncommon movement, we started with health and wellness. And as we started this broadcast tonight, it's mental health, right? Mental health, physical health, wellness, fitness, the conditioning of the mind and the body.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Dan, I just want to know if maybe, if you want to elaborate on why that was so important to make that the top pillar of this uncommon movement. And then we can swing it to you, Dr. Phil, and just get some feedback on what your regimen may be as it pertains to, physical health and wellness as you're, been accomplishing success. But let's start with Mr. Putnam.
Yeah, Clavon, I appreciate it. And if you don't mind, before I do that, I just want to cover a couple points that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
That Dr. Phil was talking about. And I love that saying. I have not read that first book that he mentioned, but one of my favorite books is The One Thing. I'd highly recommend that from everybody, also from Gary Keller. Keller Williams, one of the best training organizations in the world. And I think that's why they've been so successful. At one time was the largest real estate company in the world. And I think they're still up there right now, but just an absolutely incredible training organization. But I love that win-win or no deal. And I wanted to point out a couple things that I've seen over the last 30 years in my type of a business. Give a couple examples without giving any names out there. There is a business that we started, and there was a gentleman extremely successful. And just to give a little bit of background on this person, he came from India to Canada with nothing, basically nothing, living with a friend or a relative, literally sleeping on their floor. And after several months, was able to round up from borrowing money from friends and people that he met, $50,000. He got somebody to invest $50,000 in him. He had an idea, and the company that he's built is now done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, this guy is extremely successful. And the person that gave him that $50,000 loan, he never bought him out of the business. He's paid him tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars for that $50,000. And I had started helped set up a business, and this guy was willing to fund the entire thing because he liked the idea. And what he wanted was 25 cents per shipment. So think about that. 25 cents per shipment is no big deal. You can just throw that into your shipping and handling. It will never cost you one penny of profit.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is super big business guy, literally hundreds of millions of dollars, unlimited budget to help grow your business. And the person that I helped start that business with didn't pay him anything for probably more than a year. And now all of a sudden it wasn't just a quarter of shipment. Now it was, tens of thousands of dollars that he owed, and they ended up never paying him. And then it just, ended up causing all kinds of issues and stuff like that on something that easily could have been a massive win-win.
Right.
We give you a quarter per shipment. You basically give us all of your knowledge and unlimited funding forever. And he didn't pay that quarter. It's not that it couldn't afford it. If you would have paid it on every shipment, just raise your shipping and handling 25 cents. Nobody's going to complain and pay it. But that was just one example that I saw of somebody having like a massive win-win opportunity and then blew it because he didn't make it a win-win. So the person willing to put up all the money didn't want to do it because there wasn't upholding the other end of the deal. I've also seen something many times, companies paying a royalty of like a quarter, 50 cents per bottle. And then the company jump up and start doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So when we first start out, it's like, okay, I'll give this guy a quarter a bottle, and it's, a couple $100 and a couple $1,000. But if the company goes and does tens of millions, hundreds of millions, next thing you know, now all of a sudden you're not thinking that it's a quarter a bottle, and you already worked that into your prices anyways. So the mindset should be, I want to pay Dr. Phil unlimited income. I would love to pay him $1 million a day. I'd love to pay him unlimited. But I've seen so many times that they start not looking at that quarter per bottle that's already fixed into the price, and they're making a ton of money. But now all of a sudden they're like, man, I'm paying Dr. Phil like $300,000 a month. And really, what's he done? He was just a middleman. He just made an introduction. It's stupid for me to pay him $300,000 a month for that introduction. I already know all of the stuff. We can just change the formula a tiny bit, cut Dr. Phil out. But now all of a sudden it's no longer that win-win. Dr. Phil's making 300,000. That's a good win for him.
Mm-hmm.
We're making a way more than that because our profit is probably more than 25 cents a bottle, if you know what I mean. But I've literally seen these situations start off with a win-win agreement, and then one person doesn't fulfill it, and then it almost always comes crashing down. So I really love that concept of win-win or no deal.
Dan,
it surprised
can I jump
me.
in?
Yeah.
I just want to touch base on that. Selfishness is a disease.
Mm.
Because it takes every little act that's gotten me to where I am. Every little suggestion, every person that kind of like said, here, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? And it would be it's unjust and I think unfair to think that I got here by myself. Right? If I offer you 5 cents per product and my product blows up, that 5 cents was well worth it. And you deserve every bit that you're getting because your suggestion made it happen.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen what you've said. The moment money starts to flow, everybody wants something.
Yeah. And what my point, Dr. Phil, is part of its integrity, of course. But another part is mindset. If I have a royalty opportunity and my mindset going in, I want to pay that person unlimited money. The more I pay him, the better. If that's how I look at it in my businesses that have distributors. We only pay those distributors on volume. So the more that I pay those distributors, the better for me. I want to pay every single one of them unlimited commissions because that's the exact same way that I make money. But it's interesting to me that so many people, for some reason, that mindset changes. I mean, if I work out a royalty deal, my goal is to pay you tens of millions, hundreds of millions, unlimited money, because I'm going to make sure that that royalty is already built in. I already know what it's going to cost me. So I'm going to build it in so I still have my profit in addition to that royalty. So no matter what you're making, I'm making also. So I just love that concept. And I've seen so many businesses fail, even that started off with that win-win. And then all of a sudden they just want to be like just one win and not a win-win. And then you usually both of them end up losing. Another thing, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I did think that this was super important. And I loved what you said. And this is not just in business, this is in relationships. And you were kind of talking about it with the relationship. And you mentioned that it's not the things that you know that are typically the problem. It's the things that you don't know. And I've seen so often that, and I tell people this all the time, be very careful about making decisions based on your perception, because people get hard-headed, and that other person might be doing like you end up manifesting things. And let me just give you an example. I've had situations that I'm like, I feel like I'm the one putting in all of the work here. Let's say a relationship or something. So I'm like, you know what? Every time I get on a plane, I'm texting, hey, the plane's about to take off. When I land, hey, we just landed. Hey, going out to eat. Hey, going to the hotel. Hey, blah, 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 blah. And then you start thinking, you know what? It seems like I'm putting in all this effort here. I wonder if I don't send them a message, are they going to send me a message? And then you start to be like, don't send them a message. But then you're never taking into consideration that they're so used to you sending the messages all the time. They've never had the opportunity. But now your perception is like, well, let me see if they send it. And so now they might be thinking, man, Dan's not sending the message. Maybe he doesn't care. He used to send me all these messages. Now, why isn't he sending me these messages? And my perception is I've sent all these messages. You don't ever do it. And now all of a sudden you end up manifesting things out of perception based on
Right.
things that you
Right.
don't know, not based on things that you do know. And
Right.
I've seen relationships, I've seen business relationships, I've seen businesses, and I explain to so many people that I've tried to mentor, and I say,
Mhm.
hey, just give it a couple days, give it a couple weeks. Don't make a decision, especially an important business decision or life decision, based on your perception, because your perception may seem super real, but I can guarantee you in almost every case, your perception is not the exact reality. And so I liked what you said there, and I just kind of wanted to point out that fact that
I love that. You know what? The deal is this. I don't expect Coach Clavon to be available every time I call him or every time I'm sending him a text. I my schedule is crazy. Dan, I know your schedule is crazy. You have to plan. You as a business person, you have to plan your day as if you have a life on purpose,
yeah.
right? We're going somewhere. Something is always being developed. Something is always being created. I don't have, if I call you and say, hey, Dan, give me a call back. I'm not expecting you to be like, oh, Phil called. Let me, call me when you are done doing what you've planned to do, because the man without a plan isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you're always available to talk to me, there's a problem. You're not doing anything on purpose, right? I have two beautiful little girls. My son just graduated from college. I have a personal life, and you know whatever you sow you reap. You got to sow into stuff to be able to take out of it. If I don't put into my kids, I can't pull anything out. If I don't pour into my wife, I can't pull anything out,
Mm.
right? If I don't pour into my business, I can't demand it to pull anything out, right?
Mm.
So we're all in about investing, right? We're investing into each other right now. I'm listening to Dan and I'm pulling in stuff, and that's becoming arsenal for me. And I'm pulling on Coach, and we're pulling on each other. We're sharpening each other,
Right.
right? I love hanging around people that are purposeful. If you have the time to talk about people and talk about stuff, and if that's where your energy is and that's where your time is, I ain't got time for that.
I got
Mm.
time for that. Hey Dan, I have a suggestion, Dan. We're at the 53-minute mark, and we haven't even touched on our 5 pillar questions. So I was going to propose them to Dr. Phil and you, almost kind of more like a speed round, Dr. Phil.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Instead of our normal 20 minutes per question, we have five questions for you, 5 pieces of insight, and I want to share them with you, and also have Dan kind of quarterback this with me. But here's the bottom line: there's 3 major pillars that the UnCommon movement stands on: health and fitness,
Mhm.
financial literacy, and personal growth and development. Um, these are the things that we believe every male needs to focus on, to continue being men.
Mhm.
This masculinity, this manhood, this journey to success. These are areas we want to focus on mentoring and teaching. And then there's 2 key areas that help to kind of facilitate it. This idea of being held accountable, and
Mhm.
this idea of, once you have a success, that reciprocal, that giving back, you know.
Mhm.
So we want to talk about these dynamics, and how they relate to you and your family
Mhm.
and your business and your success. We want to start with health and fitness, whether it's mental health, but also obviously physical health, diet, physical fitness, your regimen, what keeps you sharp and strong, through the journey. And as Dan always says, you gain the world with all the success. We're so ambitious as men, but what good is it if your body's not holding up, where you can't hold your children and your grandchildren? You can't enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I want to just throw it at you really quick, and then I get some feedback from Mr. Putnam. But where's health and fitness? What does that mean to you as an UnCommon man?
It's
Let's
number one. It's number one. It's number one. Without good health, you will not experience your good wealth, right? I had an experience last year where I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when my sugar level was at like close to 700. It was 600 and something when I went to the hospital, right? And I start with that because you're not aware, if you're not keeping track of your health, your body will tell you your time is up, right? It will knock on your door and go, your time is up. So health became a huge priority. I was listening to Dwayne Johnson,
Mm.
and he is my role model when it comes to health. And he said if he has to do anything, he wakes up 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, and he goes out, he goes to the gym, and he does his workout, and he's got his diet on schedule, right? And that's what I started doing. I started waking up at like 4:30 in the morning, going to the gym at 5, you know, finishing up maybe 5:36, getting my kids ready for school, and helping my wife kind of get things together. We head out the door. We have all our routine in the morning, and then business starts, right after that. But my health, what I eat, I take my vitamin regimen is on point. I'm always checking out new remedies, new things that I can put into my body to improve it. And I'm almost 50,
Hmm.
right? So I've got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to the details if you want to enjoy what you're working on and what you're building.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's good stuff right there, brother. That's good stuff. Dan, you want us to jump into number 2, Dan, or is there something that you wanted to share there?
No, the main things that I like to ask people on that, both mental and physical, both of them extremely important, because you could be in great physical shape, but if you're not there mentally, you're still not where you want to be. And you can be great mental shape when you're not there physically, and you can't move good, do basic activities. Life's not going to be that great. So he pointed out some mentors. I always just like to ask, is there anybody that you follow? You said Dwayne Johnson again. Well, what an incredible role model, not only for physical, mental, but also financial, and just somebody who has gone from college football player to failing in the NFL, failing in Canadian Football League, to having zero money, nothing, probably all the doubts you can possibly have, and then literally becoming one of the most successful humans in the world, not just with the wrestling, but then becoming one of the most famous wrestlers, becoming one of the most famous actors, and then becoming one of the most successful businessmen in several different endeavors, with his energy drink, with his tequila, with all of those things. So I just love to kind of get podcasts you listen to, mentors, books, anything to do with the mental or physical. And like Clavon said, there's 2 extremely important things for us that are the real goal of this UnCommon movement. The other 3 that we talk about are what help you get there. And so you've kind of already mentioned everything with that. The second thing that we focus on is financial literacy. We focus specifically, Dr. Phil, on residual income, so that you can have some money that doesn't depend on your time. There's a lot of ways that people can make a large amount of money. Maybe being a top surgeon, being a big time lawyer, investment banker, those types of things. Those guys can make hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of dollars, but it all depends on their time. Very stressful, in my opinion, not worth it. So we focus more on that residual income and get people focused on how can you take yourself out of the equation and still having enough money come in to provide your lifestyle, so that you can always focus on your passion. Because if you look at those highly stressed jobs, even with a lot of money, the divorce rate is literally near 70% or higher. It's it's way more common that it fails than if it stays together, and a lot of that has to do with being so stressed out, not having control of your time. And we just want to get people focused on some areas that you can actually control your time. So a lot of people don't know that really even exists. They think, okay, I go to work, I get a job, I work for somebody else. They tell me what to do, when to do it, how much I get paid, all those things. We just want to, as early of an age as possible, get them thinking of some ways to make that residual income. And so that's what the second thing is. We feel that the absolute two most important things for human beings are their physical and mental health, and then their time. And so that's why if we want to move people to be uncommon, we want them to control their time and control their physical and mental health. So with that same question, what's your thoughts on residual income, on financial literacy, any mentors, books, podcasts, social media people that you follow, and anything that you could just kind of recommend to give some of those nuggets, some of those clues for all of the people listening?
Wow. Oh my God. Financial literacy. I would say first, start off, if you haven't started yet, start off with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay. If you have not read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's just a basic motivation to move into residual income and all those things that it applies to it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad changed my life forever. I listened to the audiobook maybe about 7 times when I first read it.
Yeah.
7 times. I read the book and I listened to the audio. Okay. Their principles in there are phenomenal. I've listened to, I'm connected to this group called Financial Empowerment. And it's all a group of different investors, and they talk about the different types of investments they do, ETFs and, SPY 500, all the stock investment stuff. I connect myself to those guys. I'm learned a lot, and I'm learning a lot about all of that. As far as residual income, I think if you don't have something that is bringing in residual income, you're missing out on. I think anybody that has any measure of wealth has some measure of residual income, right? The money that kind of gets to work for you rather than you having to put in hours and hours of labor. I have several projects under my belt right now that would help me produce residual income. So yeah, I'm 1,000,000% for that.
Hey, Doc, as we move into number 3, personal growth and development, I tend to, like Dan, I was kind of fascinated at your early story, especially, the divorce. I can't imagine being married in my early 20s. I mean, I just can't even imagine it, as you're just ever evolving, growing being, trying to become one with another person. But I remember you said when you got the divorce, you were angry at everyone. And I wasn't sure if in that 7 years to get your legs back under you, if there was a moment where I don't know if it was a spirit of responsibility or just maturity or just time heals everything. Was it something in the space we've been talking about it all night? Personal growth and development will definitely separate you from the common and make you uncommon, right? I think we all have that in common. Is this idea of addicted to, just some sort of growth and development through mentorship. But back to that situation, was there one moment in those 7 years, a book, a friend, a mentor that helped you get through that anguish and that pain? I just was curious, and anything else you could share as it pertains to your growth and development journey, some pivotal moments or mentors, but specifically how you dealt with those 7 years, how you came out of that storm.
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. The Bible was my primary source. It was the thing that I kept going back to because I had questions, had tons of questions. My son turned me on to Marcus Aurelius's book. I forgot the name of it. But he turned me on to that book, and that also was a game changer for me. I think that was after, though. I think that was closer to the tail end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bible is consistent of 66 different books, and
Yeah.
so I read all of them. I just I was in search for a lot of answers, and Joel Osteen, I love listening to him because he just kind of like talks to you inside out, right? So yeah, TD Jakes, I was listening to him a lot. I read his book, Crushing.
Yeah.
Excellent book. Excellent book. I'd recommend that book to anybody, because if you're going through a certain state of mind, you need to kind of like understand what the process is like. So those were my cornerstone.
Let me ask you one more question before I throw it back to Mr. Putnam, because I'm hearing the books and everything, but I want to ask you one really quick. We're in the fourth quarter now. We got two more, but I want to ask you.
Wait. You know what? Actually, there was a gentleman. His name was Bishop Walter G. Francis, and he helped really walk me through a lot of the chaos I was going through at the time as well.
You have like keywords like responsibility, keywords like I'm hearing the mentors, I'm hearing the books. Dr. Phil, give me one attribute of your character, of your personality that shifted, that you can remember as far as personal growth and development to help make you the man you are today. One new characteristic that you grabbed that was healing, that's something you embraced, what something specific that you can leave with, you can give the audience.
Forgiveness. Forgiveness became a key word, because if I didn't start letting some things go, I would have just stayed in the cycle I was in. And so I had to start just like forgiving myself, first of all, and then started forgiving, other people around me. And it was a journey for that. That was not, I mean, it may sound simple, it may sound like an easy word, but it was not an easy journey. And a lot of self-reflection. There was a lot of forgiving of me in that, because I held myself to such a standard, right? And also, I learned that sometimes you have to give people a pass, right? Everybody's got a measure of things that they're going through, and sometimes you just got to give them a pass, like human pass, right? I don't say that pass goes to everybody, because some people don't know what to do when you give them a pass. But there's some people that you just need to, especially if you're in a deep relationship with them, and their character and who they are as a person. You got to learn when to just say, okay, I'm going to give you a pass. Wow. And I had to learn that as well.
Good stuff. Dan, let's talk about accountability.
Yeah, you know what? I think that my whole viewpoint on accountability is the only way that you can have accountability is you have to have some sort of a system or something in place, a goal, or there's nothing to hold them accountable to. And I really honestly think that's one of the biggest problems is most people don't have an exact system. They don't have an exact plan, and they're just kind of winging it. Like Dr. Phil was talking about earlier in the call, living life on purpose. If you're not living life on purpose and having an exact plan, there is no accountability, and that's a huge problem. And it's kind of like, just think, and we use this example all the time, Clavon, and I think you were the first one to use it on one of our very first calls with the U.S. military. and thinking of it on Memorial Day, what if they had no wake up time? Just wake up when you're not tired. What if they didn't have a lights out time? Just go to bed when you're tired. But just show up whenever. Just do your own thing. How successful would we be? The only reason they're successful is because of such a strict accountability system. Look at McDonald's, and let's say the three of us said, hey, let's go in business together. Let's start a McDonald's franchise. And 6 months into it, Clavon comes and says, hey, guys, I was thinking last night of this new sauce that we could put on the burger, and it would be so much better. I tested it with like 10 friends. They all liked it better than the Big Mac sauce. And, let's put this on the burger and let's call it this. And then Dr. Phil says, hey, let's change this and all these things. It's no longer McDonald's. The reason the people want to buy a McDonald's is because of the success of that franchise. And the reason it's successful is because they give you no options. It's basically like, we're going to force you to be successful by putting together an accountability system that we can enforce. Mm-hmm. And that's what so many people need, because you give them too much freedom, and now all of a sudden they start making all these decisions that aren't proven and are based on their thoughts and not real business. And so I think the thing that it's so difficult is being able to have an accountability system that you can't enforce. It's already a fact that people are not self-accountable. People are not self-responsible. Mm-hmm. And because they're not self-responsible, then they have to have something to be accountable to keep them on track. And so that's what I think, like when we discussed putting together these 5 steps to creating a successful person, they have to realize that you have to be systematized in order to be success. You have to have people to hold you to that. Because here's the deal. If people were self-responsible, then there'd be much more successful people. When you look at, like when we were looking at this UnCommon movement, and I was looking at what does it take to be in the top 1% in health and fitness, meaning how many push-ups or pull-ups or just moving your own body weight. We're not even talking about pushing things that aren't already connected to you. It's not very much. I mean, you're talking about like one pull-up is putting you in like the top 3 or 4% in the world. Yeah. Income-wise, $37,000 a year puts you in the top 1% in the world. Doesn't put you in the top 1% in the United States, but in the world, it puts you in the top 1%. Top 1% of the United States is closer to 700,000 or something like that. But in the world, it's only 37,000. So people are not succeeding. That's why this type of thing is needed. They don't take responsibility. They blame everybody else. Like if we were doing this whole thing on, people that aren't successful, we'd be hearing all the excuses of why they're not successful.
Right.
But when we talk to successful people, we hear more about the decisions, the beliefs, the taking the responsibility for the problems, whether it's their fault or not. It doesn't matter if it's your fault. And here's one of the things that I think people have to realize. If you're ever going to be successful, you need to focus on the things you can control, which at the end of the day is not much other than yourself. If everybody would focus more on the things that they're in complete control of and not worry so much about the things that they have no control of, they're going to find life starts to line out a little bit. It starts to get a little bit easier because we spend almost all day, every day, focusing and trying to control things that we can't. Other people's emotions, other people's actions, we are trying to control what other people are doing. And then we're not even taking into the thought of what we're actually doing. And so that's why I think accountability is so big. But I have to point out, there is no accountability if there's no system. So if somebody wants to create success, speaking of Keller Williams, they have an exact training system. They have an exact platform, and they are much more successful than independent brokers. There's no independent broker that is even in the ballpark of Keller Williams. Why? Because Keller Williams doesn't put up with people not following the system. You follow the system or you work yourself out. And it's not just that. You can take every successful organization and you're going to see they have some standards. I guess you could call it, a system. You could call it standards. There's a lot of different areas that you can look at this, but at the end of the day, I think you have to take responsibility for the good and bad in your life. You have to, hold yourself accountable, but I think you'll have a much better chance of having success with the right mentors in place that have a system and hold you to what you're doing. And then you do the same thing with the team that you're building, the people you're working with, depending on what you're doing. So accountability is super difficult because most people don't have a system that you can enforce. And even if you can enforce it and say, okay, you're out of here. And then it's just like, oh, well, now what do? I just like, Dr. Phil's talking about getting so excited that he's going to get this client. Then it's devastating when you don't have that client. And it's like, well, Dr. Phil's not doing exactly what I said. And we're, working this real estate business together. So I need to get rid of him and get somebody else. So I get rid of Dr. Phil. And then I'm like, oh, man, now I got to go find somebody else. And they're not listening either. So, it can get to be a difficult thing, but I do think that it's important. But I think the most important aspect when you're talking about opportunity, when you're talking about personal development, mentorship, and stuff like that, is understanding how systematic it is, and understanding that if I don't know your goals, if we don't have a game plan, there really is no accountability.
Right. Absolutely. And Dr. Phil, I'm sure in your line, business, accountability has been very important for you to police, as far as your staff and, probably even the clients that you take on. I'm sure there's a certain standard. What's your take on accountability?
Oh my God. Listen, you guys are pulling it all out. You're pulling out some stuff here. Here's the deal. Self-discipline is accountability to yourself. I remember a few years ago, I was in my meditation and a thought came to me. If you can't trust keeping a word to yourself, can you trust that you're going to keep your word to somebody else?
Wow.
Right. And that's what Dan is saying. It's like that there's you've got to first fortify that inner accountability to yourself to say, I have a system, I have a goal, I have a discipline, right? Because without that inner discipline, that inner system, even just the physical system, the spiritual system, the mental system, if you're not gearing yourself in these areas and holding yourself accountable to a standard, personal standard, right, then anything works. Whatever you get works. It's almost like you put something in the oven and, you put a chicken in the oven and a turkey comes out, you don't care. right? Because you don't have a goal. You don't have, there's nothing driving you towards it. And you're not holding yourself accountable to results. If results don't matter to you, don't get into business.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you got to get somewhere. And sometimes you got to get somewhere at a certain time, right? Sometimes you don't have 24 hours. Sometimes you don't have 2 weeks. Sometimes you have 2 hours. Sometimes you have 1 hour to make a decision, and it can make or break your business, make or break your life, your income stream, your profit and loss statement. All of it can make and break you. And you've got to be able to have the discipline to say, okay, I'm going to even sit down and make a decision here, or I'm going to run and not have a plan whatsoever. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens isn't a plan.
Right.
Right. it's you. If you're going to lead something, you got to be accountable to it. You got to take responsibility. Whether it succeeds or fail, it's on me. I say that to my people all the time. I said, look, I could say, we could talk all this, we can plan all this, but when the rubber hits the road, it's on me, right? I'm not going to blame my assistant and say, well, I gave this to my assistant, I gave this to Joe. It's on me. Listen, I messed up. What the conversation I have with my team is one thing, but my responsibility to my client, my responsibility, my commitment to my own personal goals is all in here. I mean, that standard is mine, right? I own it. I take full accountability for that. And then there's the outside realm of it. Having a mentor means you have somebody that can guide you through the hard stuff that you haven't figured out.
Right.
They've probably gone through it. I mean, Dan is I can already tell Dan is a great mentor because he's going to tell you straight up whether you're BSing yourself or not, right? Which we all kind of like. But when we have things we don't want to face, you need that person that's going to be like, okay, Phil, all right, Claiborne, listen, stop dancing around this. That's the gorilla, okay? Take that gorilla down. And I'm giving you 2 weeks to do it. I'm giving you 10 days to do it, right? You need somebody that's going to bring you so tunnel vision on the task at hand that you're going to say, okay, you know what? I got to do this, right? And it brings you into focus. I think accountability is, key to achieving any goal. And I'm talking inward accountability and outward accountability.
Very well expressed, brother. Very well put together. And I'll tell you something. I hope you guys are picking up what the gentlemen are putting down tonight, because there's some really, really, really fascinating nuggets. And, Dr. Phil, we want to just kind of close out with this concept, of giving back, whatever that means to you. I mean, I've just seen so many people in the past, fall in love with anonymous giving, and some level of pride or integrity in that. But I actually have now, even with social media, I love to watch people show that they're giving, because I think it's an example. I think it's an inspiration. I think we do that often, and I think it's very, very valuable. But what is giving back? I mean, it could be monetary. I see value in that. I see materialistic giving back as a need. I don't care if it's a blanket, a vehicle, some money, some shoes, what you can do for an entire community. But I think giving back is also what you're doing tonight, being an inspiration, your most valuable commodity, right? Your time, telling your story and blessing everyone with these nuggets. So giving back is a big part of what we do. I know Dan has a tremendous amount of insight on why that is, this last standing pillar of every organization he's ever built globally is the idea of getting back in the trenches. Hey, get rich and give back. And I just want to know what that means to you, what practices you may follow, what you've been, doing, maybe even as it goes all the way back to JA, go back to, Jamaica. I could imagine your parents and grandparents, man, it's just a lot of love and a lot of giving in that cultural, island. But what does giving back mean to you personally and from a business perspective?
Legacy. I believe because we're not here permanently. If you're thinking of your business as a solopreneur, right? Then it's only you that benefit, and then eventually it's going to die out, because once you're gone, your business is gone, everything's done, right? You're done. That's not a legacy. That's just an event. Right? It's a falling star. It's a shooting star, right? And it doesn't have a lasting effect. Giving back is your legacy, right? Whether it's in counsel, whether it's in finances, whether it could be the smallest thing or the biggest thing, you're creating something for someone else. And I'll never forget the story about Billy Graham. There's a story about Billy Graham that is a fascinating story, because it's when Billy Graham became a Christian, it was from a small church in a small town in Hodunk somewhere, right? And nobody's ever heard about this church. Nobody ever heard about the pastor of that church. All they've heard about is Billy Graham, right? And that's the thing about giving back, is you never know the effect that person is going to have on the entire world or on the community they're in. Look at the person there's somebody that helped Martin Luther King. There's somebody that helped him get to the place that he was. And I read his book. I read the entire, and there's an entire encyclopedia thing on Martin Luther King. And I read from cover to cover. I listened to it from cover to cover. And the one thing I realized is that he didn't even think he would get to where he was. His plan was to just have a simple life with a simple family, but it was his inner commitment to excellence. It was his inner commitment to his brother and to his sister and to his community that invoked all the great things that you see in his life. That was the drive and the passion for him. And so that is exactly what we're reaping today.
We hear you loud and clear, brother. We lost your visual, but we definitely hear you every word.
Yeah, my camera just decided to die out.
Hey man. This information is powerful. Yep.
I'm still here though. I'm still here.
Yeah. So yeah, you were just talking about closing out with Dr. Martin Luther King, Yeah, I think I may have read that piece as well. But continue, please.
Yeah, so giving back means that you have some value, and you value what's around you, who's around you, what's around you, right? It's adding value to that. Not just, none of us are where we are without somebody giving back to us. Facts. Like, imagine somebody didn't pour into Dan, right? Somebody didn't take him aside and say, here's a building block, Dan. This is what I'm going to give to you. This is what I'm sowing to you. He wouldn't have developed into pouring into all those communities that he's in right now. He's traveling around. He's helping people build their business, build their brand, pouring out wisdom. Just the fact that you guys have this podcast, you don't have to do this. This is not a must. You choose to give back with the knowledge that you've gained so that other people can grow from the information you have, right? From the connections that you've made, from the people you've brought on. And it's changing somebody's perspective, right? Imagine, you never know the deep effect that your program is having on somebody's core belief and core mindset. It's invaluable for us to just say, I'm going to give back and make sure that what I've learned can be passed on to someone else.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Yeah, Dr. Phil, I love it. And what came to my mind when he was talking about that, and normally this doesn't come to my mind, so maybe it's just, something that some other people might need to hear, or maybe I just needed to think about it. But it's really two ways. It's giving and receiving. And if somebody gave us all this information, but we didn't receive it, we didn't do anything with it, then it doesn't do a whole lot of good. If I gave $10 to somebody that I thought was in need and he just dropped that $10, it didn't do any good. If I give somebody all this wisdom and all this knowledge and they do nothing with it, it really didn't do a whole lot of good. So typically I really haven't had that thought come to my mind that it's not just giving back, it's also receiving what you're given. And you know, or else it didn't do any good. And that's the whole thing. I see somebody out freezing, and you know, there's many times that we've gone out with the homeless here in Salt Lake City. I don't know why. I would try and hitchhike or do something if I was homeless. I wouldn't want to be in Salt Lake City in the winter. But you go out there and it's just like, man, they're freezing and stuff like that. But you know, give them a blanket. They're not just going to drop that blanket on the ground and walk away. But it's that same thing with thinking about the knowledge also. And I've seen so many people that just get all this knowledge and literally do nothing with it. So I think we not only need to focus on giving back, we also need to focus on receiving, taking the information that we were given and then doing something with it, or else it just was you know, kind of a waste of time. But the big thing for me on giving back was when I was younger, almost everything that came to my mind around success was things and money. I want to make more money so I can buy cooler things and maybe have some, you know, cooler experiences and things like that. And it didn't take very long before I started to realize that it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough money to create happiness. You're never going to have enough cars or enough this or enough that. It's always going to be something that you just feel empty. And so I started to have, you know, a different train of thought. The success isn't just having things. Success is also giving back, receiving, doing all of these, you know, different things. And I think it helps keep you more grounded. And for me, it's actually more fulfilling helping somebody, seeing somebody else go through the motions, do all of the things that you went through, and maybe even do it better and bigger and faster and everything than you. For me, there's some reason that it's just more fulfilling than doing it myself, because I know how bad I wanted these things, how hard I worked for these things. And it was a little discouraging maybe when I started to get them, then I'm kind of like, you know what? And I'm not saying that I don't want them, because I do feel that life is about experiences, and having money and doing those things gives you the ability to have way more experiences than other options. But I also started to realize that, man, it's so much more fulfilling if you have other people doing the same things and other people having fun and other people excited and other people driven and having the goals and all the positivity and just everybody out there just being like, man, let's do this. We got this. And then when you have those troubles, that's why the mindset and the personal development is so important, is you have to have that trigger that goes in your mind that literally says, you know what, Dr. Phil, you know what, Clavon, this is when most people quit.
Right.
You know, when we're starting our business together, the three of us, and we're saying, hey, we got this great game plan. We're so excited. We think it's going to be the biggest thing ever. And then we start going and it's not going nearly as smooth. It's taking way longer. It's costing way more. One of us has to jump up and say, you know what, guys, this is when most people quit. This is what separates the people that are going to have massive success and the people that are going to stay stuck. Let's go. Let's push harder. Let's figure things out. We know we can do it. We know we're on the right path. Let's just go. Let's just push. Because if you never have that train of thought, you're always going to, as soon as it gets tough, as soon as it gets a little difficult, you're going to quit. And then that's going to always be the habit. And then you're going to blame everybody else. It's everybody else's fault. And you know, it's just that exact opposite of success. But for me, having all of this stuff and building businesses and just, you know, building a big house on the hill with a great view and stuff like that, it's like, that's not big enough. That nobody's going to remember that. I saw a thing.
Do you know? Could I say, what you're saying is so on point, because when I was kind of like having everything, that's when I was like, there's got to be more.
Hmm.
And the house, the dog, the cat, the picket fence. It's like you have it now. You have it. What then? What?
Yeah.
Right? Things will never get you. Having things as a goal is never going to be satisfactory. Once you find out what your purpose is in in the community of this world, and saying, this is what I contribute, this is what's going to bring change to somebody's perspective and somebody's life, and I will do it for free, even if there was no currency. This is what I would do for the rest of my life. Like what I'm doing right now, man, listen, it's a dream for me. I mean, I get so much pleasure and so much joy from producing stuff and developing stuff and helping people get their vision out. I mean, it's just, I'm living life. I remember before we came on, you guys were talking about, people talking about how negative and how, sucky life is. I can't relate.
Right.
I love my life. I love the things that are going on in my life. And it's not because I'm like 1000% wealthy and have all the money in the world and all my bills are paid and everything. It's none of that. I have two beautiful girls. I live in a house that I am totally satisfied with. My wife loves me. I love my wife. That is heaven to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And I love it. Clavon, that's all I got, man. If there's anything else that you have to close us out, or Dr. Phil, again, thanks so much for your time, your knowledge, spreading this wisdom to everybody. And the great thing is, with the time and age that we live, that somebody can see this a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and it will get to the right people. I know that for sure. And I saw something not too long ago that I don't remember the exact percentage that it said, but like almost 100% of the people don't even know who their great grandparents were.
Wow.
And most don't even know their great grandparents. So basically what that means is most people are completely forgotten within 2 generations.
Hmm.
And my purpose is to allow everybody to think bigger than that,
Mhm.
and have and live a life that's more capable than just like one or 2 generations. It's like you didn't even exist on this earth.
Yep. Yeah, that's deep right there. Yeah, so
That's what I said.
that's deep.
That's
And I
what I
think
said.
also a lot of times is you got to leave something back. Leave back a legacy, leave back an inheritance, leave back some wisdom, some power, some resources to almost be memorable. We got to leave something back. But I'll tell you something. This has been a great uh, broadcast. Dr. Phil, I'd like to afford you the opportunity. Any closing remarks? I want to remind everybody who's watching us out there on YouTube, please don't forget to like and share and subscribe to our channel. Spread the good news. We're going to keep doing this. Dr. Phil, also, I just want to say, listen, guys, Memorial Day, shout out to all of current and past, soldiers that have supported this country. Extend your hand and make an impact on another person's life if you can. If you are suffering from anxiety or stress at a high level, depression, if you feel really sad and you just feel like you're not happy and life's not worth living, make that last effort to give a phone call. Give someone a phone call. Speak about it. Tomorrow's a better day. Tomorrow's another day. Get another perspective. And if you feel like you know someone in your life that might be going through it, don't have any regrets. Don't wait. Give them a call. Check on them. How you doing? How you feeling? I was thinking about you. Let's just all care a little bit more. We're at a time where like I said, like we said, mental health or mental unhealth, mental illness is at an all-time high. It seems like it, and maybe we can support each other and help people through those valleys and dark times. Dr. Phil, any closing remarks?
I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be on your program. It was a real honor to be here and to be with you and have this conversation. For any and all of you who are watching, being uncommon is an everyday choice. You have to choose it. Being common means you just go with the flow. Being uncommon means I make a choice to be and make a difference.
Love it.
Awesome. Hey guys, we came, we saw, we conquered. We will be back here next Monday evening with another phenomenal uncommon guest. And until then, guys, again, extend your hand and make an impact on another person's life and be blessed. We are out of here. Dr. Phil, hold on for a second.